My name is Natalie. I'm 41 years old, a school counselor by profession, and someone who thought she had finally found peace after a long, messy divorce. I had one daughter, Rachel, from my previous marriage, and I was certain that after all I'd been through, love was done with me. But then came Daniel. Daniel was everything my first husband wasn't: steady, kind, attentive. He had a calmness about him that soothed the chaos in me. We met through a mutual friend at a PTA fundraiser of all places. We got married 2 years later. By then, I felt like I had known him forever. Daniel had a son from his previous marriage too, Ethan. He was 22 when I married Daniel. A quiet, polite boy, always respectful, always distant. He lived in another city for university, but he'd occasionally visit for the holidays. I won't lie, our relationship was never warm. Cordial, yes, but never close. Still, I told myself it was. Fine, after all, blended families take time, but I never imagined that behind Ethan's silence was a secret that would shake the very foundation of my life. It started last Christmas. Daniel had gone on a short business trip, and Ethan had come home early to help decorate. Rachel was off with friends, and it was just the two of us at home for a few days. I didn't think much of it. Ethan mostly kept to himself in the guest room, and I was too busy grading papers and prepping the house. But there were small, strange moments, like how he suddenly started helping in the kitchen, or how he'd linger a little too long during conversations. One night, I was curled up on the sofa watching a movie when I felt eyes on me. I turned, and there he was, standing in the hallway, just watching silently. When I asked him what he needed, he just smiled and said, "You seem lonely sometimes." It was unsettling. I brushed it off as awkwardness. Maybe he was trying to bond. Maybe I was reading too much into things. But then came the night that changed everything. It was a Tuesday, cold, rainy. I'd just finished taking a long bath and went to my bedroom. As I opened the door, I froze. There, standing in the middle of my room, holding one of my silk nightgowns, was Ethan. His back was to me, and at first, I couldn't process what I was seeing. My voice caught in my throat. He didn't hear me, at first. Then, slowly, he turned. Our eyes met. The look on his face wasn't embarrassment. It wasn't fear. It was something else. Something unreadable. Calm. Almost like he'd been waiting for this moment. "Natalie," he said softly. "I didn't mean to startle you." I asked him, no, demanded, what he was doing in my room, holding my clothes. He stepped forward and said, "I just wanted to understand you better. I've always felt like there's this wall between us." I told him to leave. My voice trembled, but I made it clear. "Go, now." He did. I locked the door behind him and sat on the floor, heart pounding. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept hearing his voice, that strange, calm tone. I didn't tell Daniel. I didn't know how. I didn't even know what to say. Over the next few days, Ethan acted as if nothing had happened. He laughed with Rachel, helped decorate the tree, even offered to go grocery shopping. That only made it worse. I began questioning myself. Was I overreacting? Had I misunderstood something? Then came New Year's Eve. Daniel was back by then. We had family over. I tried my best to stay composed, but I could feel Ethan's eyes on me all evening, watching, waiting. After midnight, when everyone was asleep, I walked into the kitchen to grab some water, and there he was, again, alone. He stepped closer and said, "You don't have to pretend with me. I know you feel it too." My heart stopped. I backed away, and with a firmness I didn't know I had. I told him, "This is your father's house. You will respect me, and you will never ever speak to me like that again." He just looked at me, smiled faintly, and said, Maybe you're not as different as you pretend to be. The next morning, he was gone, packed and left before sunrise. No goodbye. Nothing. I thought that was the end of it. I convinced myself it was over, that he was just a confused young man, that he would grow up and forget this ever happened. I was wrong. 3 months later, Daniel's ex-wife called me. She sounded panicked. Ethan hadn't been returning her calls. She said he was falling behind in school and had stopped attending therapy. Then she said something that made my stomach turn. He keeps talking about you, Natalie. Says you're the only one who understands him. My hands went cold. I knew then that I had to tell Daniel. I had to tell him everything. That evening, I sat him down and laid it all out. The night with the nightgown, the kitchen, the words Ethan had spoken. Daniel stared at me, face pale. You're telling me my son made a move on you? I nodded. There was silence, a thick, heavy silence that sat between us like a wall. Then slowly, Daniel whispered, You're lying. I felt my world tilt. He got up, paced the room. Ethan would never. He's shy. He barely talks to people. I'm not lying, I said quietly. Why would I lie about this? But he didn't believe me. Not truly. In the weeks that followed, things between Daniel and me began to crack. He withdrew. He stopped looking me in the eyes. Conversations became short, distant. And then, one evening, I found him in the study, staring at his laptop, tears in his eyes. I got an email. He said, voice hollow, from Ethan. He handed me the screen. The email was long. A ramble, a confession, but not of guilt, of heartbreak. Ethan wrote about how he had always been drawn to me, how he felt I was the only woman who ever made him feel seen. He blamed me for leading him on. He claimed I gave him signals, that I was lonely and vulnerable, I couldn't breathe, the manipulation, the rewriting of the truth, the twist of it all. Daniel said nothing after I read it. He just looked at me, torn, confused, broken. I don't know what to believe anymore, he whispered. That was the moment I knew our marriage wouldn't survive. Within a month, Daniel moved out. He didn't blame me, not directly. But he couldn't. Look at me without doubt in his eyes. We divorced 6 months later. Rachel stayed with me. She never liked Ethan, and I was grateful she hadn't been around during those strange days. I never spoke to Ethan again. I heard through mutual friends that he dropped out of university, that he's been in and out of counseling. Sometimes I wonder, did he truly believe what he wrote in that email? Or was it just a cruel deflection, a way to punish me for not playing into his fantasy? I don't know. What I do know is that one door changed everything. One moment of truth, of opening a door and seeing what I was never meant to see, shattered a family, a marriage, and my faith in the people closest to me. But it also taught me something, that silence is dangerous, that secrets thrive in the spaces we avoid, and that sometimes the greatest betrayal doesn't come from strangers or lovers. It comes from those we try to welcome into our hearts, even when they were never meant to be there.